Hello folks, it's time for another behind the scenes video. If you remember a couple of weeks ago now, I made one about how I plan my routes, and that was an interesting one for people to watch actually. I think it opened a few people's eyes as to what I do sort of behind the scenes. One of the things that came out of that video though was some people still don't realize that I do more than one every day. I do more than one route every day. And I'm going to show you in this video how I go about putting together what I do inside a day. So making what I call a run. Now, to do this, we first have to go to my very complicated spreadsheet, which is down here. Now, this is the lifeblood that keeps TVI going. This is a very complicated spreadsheet, and this bit here is the bit we're going to be talking about mainly in this episode, but I will just show you bits of it, which I will go through at some point. I will make a video about this spreadsheet. There's all sorts of stuff all over the place. It's all vitally important to what I do, but none of this down here and across here is relevant for this. We're just mainly looking at this part here. Now, you might recognize part of this actually, because if you're one of these people that follows me on the regular, you'll notice that all these are ones we've already done, and the date at the side is basically the week commencing. So here, for example, you've got week commencing March 25th. That's when you had Howtham on the Monday and Blankney on the Tuesday, Barrow-on-Trent on the Wednesday, etc, etc. All the ones that don't have colours, these have all been and gone. And this here is the week you're currently on. There you go. Market Stayton, St Albans, etc. And you'll notice that all of these have got A, different coloured backgrounds, and B, different coloured texts. Now, that's not necessarily relevant at this particular point. What I'm going to draw your attention to is the fact that some of them have got boxes around them. You can see these 5 here. I'll just move this down so you can see. We've got a border on the outside. Okay, now if you've got 5 or however many it is together like this, it means that's a run. It's a day's worth of work. Okay, so in this particular run here that I've got highlighted, this is Rushcliffe. I'll be doing these 5 all in the same day. All right, so how do I decide which ones I'm doing and how many in what day is basically what this episode's going to talk about. So I'm going to show you. Now, if I draw your attention to this column here, this is Fridays. This is Harrogate. You'll recognise some of these names, I'm sure. Now, I went to Harrogate last week and I did a run which started with Sicklinghull and ended up in Langthorpe. 8 of them, but that's actually 2 days because I did those 4 on one day and those 4 on the second day, okay, with an overnight stay in between. And what I'm going to do right now in this video is plan the next run in Harrogate. So, as you can see, there's nothing below Langthorpe there. That's where I ended. I need to plan what's going to be in this area here, okay? Ignore this line. That's something different. Again, I'll explain that at some point. So, first thing I do is I go to what I call my TVI Bible. And that is the website known as City Population. That's this website here. This is where I draw basically everything from. This website uses stuff from, all its data comes from the Office of National Statistics. It's a German website, but they use the data from the ONS. And they cover all countries, not just the UK, it's every single country in the world. And this is the most up-to-date basically database you can find online to tell you all about the places which I visit. So we need to find Harrogate, don't we? So let's type in Harrogate in here. Oh, wish I could spell. There we go. And you'll get this if you do. Now what we want is this one here. Harrogate District, and it says admin there. Those are the map that will come up in a moment. If I click on it, we'll show you the Harrogate District and lots of different coloured pieces of different shapes and sizes. These are all the parishes and unparished areas, and on the right hand side you've got a list of them, okay, and it tells you what they are. If you click on any of these, let's just click on one we've done. Let's see, Cockgrove. We've done that, haven't we? So if we click on Cockgrove, There it is. It zooms into Copgrove and it tells you a bit of information about it. You can go to you can type Copgrove in, for example, and it will bring up the another page about it all with lots more information on it. But we're not interested in that at this point. What we're interested in is which ones of these we can put together in a run. So we ended up in Langthorpe last time. Now Langthorpe is this one here. Okay. Now what I want to do next time I go up to Harrogate is I want to carry on in the same area. So I stayed overnight in Ripon, which is this here. Okay. And I came down here through Bishop Monckton, Westwick, Rowcliffe, and ended up in Langthorpe. And I want to carry on in this area. And the reason for that is because the hotel I stayed in Ripon was really rather good, and it was rather cheap as well. So with that in mind, I want to go back. I want to go back again, and it makes sense because ending there, it would make more sense to carry on in the same area. So what I'm wanting to do is put together probably about maybe 8, 9 or 10 of these. Doesn't matter if it goes either side of Ripon, to be honest with you, because, you know, if I'm overnighting there, I can come out here. I've not done any of this yet. Not done any of these. I've still not done any of these up here. Basically in Harrogate, I've basically done all the area around the main town, which is this here. Okay. So we're looking sort of more in this sort of northwestern corner, this northeastern corner, something like that. But we want to start there. And it's a good place to start because Langthorpe and the area around it is all on the A1. So it's dead easy to get to for a start point. So the first thing to sort of decipher, if you like, is what all these colours mean. Okay. Now Langthorpe, as you can see, is a yellow colour. Some are green, some are red, some are grey. The colours, they are an indication of the population density, okay? So the more green a place is, for example, Hutton Conyers is a very dark green, there's not many people that live in that one, okay? If the place is yellow, then it's obviously a bit denser. If it's red, it's even denser still. I think the highest density I've ever seen is purple, which is extremely dense. You don't tend to get that in sort of rural areas though, so we don't really deal with those. The grey ones are the ones that have no population information. So these are the ones that have a population of less than 100 people, right? We do see them occasionally. And there's a few here around Langthorpe, which, you know, are probably going to be touching a couple of these in this run. Okay. So I have decided that the run will start with this one, Skelton-on-Ure, okay? Which is an ideal place to start because it's literally right next to Langthorpe. And I'll just show you this too. I've already had a look on Google Maps. I have this open at the same time. It's a bit slow in loading, so do bear with. Oh, hang on. It will do it eventually, I promise. There we go. So I've already had a little look around here. Just get it to scroll across. Come on. Modern technology, don't you just love it? Come on. There we go. So there's Langthorpe, as we can see, just to the north of Borough Bridge. Skelton-on-Ure is just over the A1, right next door to it. Okay? Dead easy to get to, straight up the A1. Bang, we're there. First village. Okay? So that's going to be our start point. And we want to work our way towards Ripon because we know that's where the hotel's going to be. Okay? So if you look at the map, you can see there's plenty of places between here. We've got Littlethorpe, we've got Bridge Hewick, we've got Copthewick, we've got Sharrow, Martin Moor, Hutton Conyers. Anything in this area not yet been done. Simple case of just heading up there through the town to the hotel and maybe coming out this side afterwards. We'll see. So let's go back to city population. What have we got around Skelton-on-Ure? So we've got Newby with Mulwith, Martin le Moor, Givendale, Bridge Hewick, Copthewick, Sharrow. So I'm looking really along here to see if I can join these together. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is work out which of these are actually joined together by road. So we know that Skelton-on-Ure is going to be the first one. So what we do is we send the man in, like we did in the route planning video. So let's have a look at the the public roads and see what's connected together. So from Skelton, we've got Newby, which is right next door. You can get there via a public road. You can go north up here towards Ripon. There's a road up to Copthewick. There's a couple here around Martin-le-Moor. Plenty of little roads you can use between these villages, but obviously sometimes there are natural borders in the way. For example, I can't get to the likes of Littlethorpe very easily because there's a river here. You can see the River Ure, so I probably won't be heading towards Littlethorpe in this particular run, because unless there's a way to get over the river, which there is there actually at Bridge Hewick, you know, the chances are I'm going to be heading north as opposed to heading west. Okay, so we're starting with Skelton, and immediately to the west you can see we've got Newby Hall, as it is on Google Maps. The parish name is Newby with Mulwith, and it's right there, you can see. So it makes sense to connect those two together, because the road from Skelton, you can see it looks like a dead end, but I've actually had a bit of a closer look at this. It does continue up here. It's a one-way street, and for some reason Google Maps haven't recorded this particular part, but you can drive on that, because I know that it's a one-way system through Newby Hall. You enter up here at this crossroads and you leave this way. You can't go out the same way, so you can drive that. It's worth sending the man in to have a look at that kind of thing. So we're going to do Skelton, we're going to do Newby with Mulwith, and we're going to come out up here. Now, if you drive up here, this takes you to Givendale, which isn't actually on the map because it's such a small place, and that makes sense, because as you can see here on city population, it's one of these that's got a population of less than 100. All right, so it's a tiny place, but it makes sense to do all three together because it's a one-way system through there, so these three will link together. The one to the south here, Westwick, is on the other side of the River Ure. I've already done that, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so we've got the first three in our run. Okay, we've got a greeny coloured one and two that are grey. Okay, so that's not really much in the way of filming. That one will probably take me, I don't know, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes looking at the size of it, and these will be dead easy. Be through these pretty quickly. Okay, so where are we going after that? So let's look at the map again. So once through Givendale, which is here by the way, there's a junction. This road goes back to Skelton, which is not really of any use to us because we've just been there. There's another road which goes up to Bridge Hewick, and there's a road that comes up here to Martin-le-Moor. Okay, now at this point I've got a decision to make. I'm definitely not going to go back to Skelton. Do I do Bridge Hewick or do I do Martin-le-Moor? Basically that's the choice I've got, and I think it makes sense to do Bridge Hewick, okay, because it's the closest one. Sometimes it's easiest just to do the closest one. So let's have a look at the map again here, and there it is. Okay, you've got the road coming down from Skelton. It's another grey coloured one, so that seems pretty legit. All right, to do those four together. Just to the north, you've got Copthewick. Now, when you've got two villages like this, which have got the same name, it's actually a good thing to do them together, because if I was to do Bridge Hewick and then come out this way, it could be several months before I come back to Copthewick. Sometimes it makes sense to do ones with similar names together because they're normally connected to each other in some way, shape or form. Not always, but you tend to find that happens. And luckily we can get between the two. Look, we can get via this road here, so that's another one to put in the run. Okay, and at this point we're getting quite close to Ripon, aren't we? There's Ripon there, and we are currently here, and we've already got 5 in this run, haven't we? We've got 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're after something like 10. Now all of that won't take very long. We've got 3 grey ones and 2 green ones, and light green ones at that, so that's not going to take me all that long. So we need something that's a bit bigger, don't we, just to sort of balance it out. And the obvious choice is Sharrow, isn't it? Because it's right next door to Copthewick and it's right next door to Ripon. It's between the two, and those 6 would make a good day's filming, good day's work. All right, we can get through that easily and be, you know, happy with that. Okay, and the good thing about that is that's 6. We're after 10-ish, so on the next day we can pretty much, you know, pick any 4 really, and it will be a decent-ish run for the next day, won't it? Sometimes it's hard when you've got big areas. I mean, if you look down here, there's a couple that are sort of yellow and orangey coloured. That's Knaresborough. That's a day's work in itself because it's so big. Okay, the good thing on these maps is to see the ones that are yellow and the ones that are green and the ones that are grey, because they're the ones you usually through the quickest. Okay, makes sense. So yeah, that seems pretty obvious. Going to Sharrow, which is here, look on the map. Yeah, that looks a bit bigger, but it should be pretty good for what we need, because after that we are just straight across here, and the hotel is over here in Bishopton, this part of Ripon here. Very good hotel, very clean, very cheap as well. And that's basically it. That's the end of the day. We can do those 6 in one hit. Okay, so we have effectively got the first part of our run, haven't we? Now what I do at this point is I put the 6 places here. They'll be coloured black because that's Harrogate's colour, and then I'll be changing the text colour. There's a reason the text colour is a different colour, but like I said, I'll explain that in another video. And they will go here. All right, so I'm not going to type them in now because it would take a little bit too much time, but we'll just put a border here. All right, so we know that they're going to be in there in a bit. So we really need to do now is find 4 more to go with those 6, and we've got our run of 10, haven't we? So I've got the choice at this point. I can either go to the west and do some of these. These all look pretty small. Could easily get 4 out of that. I could go to the north and do some of these, or I could even come back to the east and head back to the A1. And in this case, it makes as much sense as anything else to actually come back to the east and to the A1, because that's the easiest way to get home from here. Okay, major road, take me straight back down towards where I live. All right, so it's the same thing again. We go back to city population and we have a look and see what we've got. Now we've come around here, haven't we? Up here, these 6, and we know the A1 runs there. Yeah. So what I'm sort of wanting is an area, it's sort of here, to jump back on the A1 again. And the one we didn't consider in this run here was Martin-le-Moor. Okay, we sort of decided against it because we went from Bridge Hewick to Coptewick and then across to Ripon. But it's easy enough to get to Martin-le-Moor, isn't it? Because we already know there's a road there. If we just show you on this map, look, there it is. Pretty simple. Out of Ripon, through Bridge Hewick, Martin-le-Moor. All right. So that is where we will start the second day, Martin-le-Moor. Pretty simple. About 10 minutes or so away from Ripon. Right, so we've got our start point again. So now we just need to fill it in with three others, and we are there. So Martin-le-Moor borders, we've got Dishforth, we've got Norton-le-Clay, we've got Kirby Hill. To the north, we've got Hutton Conyers, but we're not interested in going north. We're interested in coming south again, aren't we? So the easiest one to go to is Dishforth, right next to it. All right. So let's see. Is there a road that connects the two? There is. There's Dishforth up there, right? There's also a road that comes across to Norton-le-Clay, but it's probably best to go to Dishforth first because, as you can see, we've got an RAF base there between the two. Now, I already know, because I've looked at the parish boundaries, that is shared between Dishforth and Norton-le-Clay. So it makes sense to do them both together because I know that this airbase is shared between the two, okay? Because we can talk about the village in the first episode and then the airbase in the second one. Because if you look at Norton-le-Clay, it's not very big. You see, it's a tiny place. And this is... this will pad it out. We'll make it a bit more of an enthralling episode, as it were. Okay? So we can do those two together, can't we? There's a road between the two. okay, I've got to come around here to do it, but you know, there is a way to do it. There may even be a way this way, actually, looking at the road there. I didn't see that one before. There might even be a road there. I think there is. Look, the A168. I can come down the A168 here, look, and join this road. Yes, I can. Okay, so I can easily get between the two. Not a problem. Okay, and from there, again, we're heading south. So if we take a look at the roads, the easiest place to go to is Kirby Hill, right next to Langthorpe. So we've come around in a big circle. Let's just check that on the map here. We've got Martin le Moor, Dishforth, Norton le Clay, Kirby Hill. All right, so we've got our 4 there. And I know you can get back onto the A1 there because I did it when I completed the Langthorpe episode. All right, and I know those two join together as well because I actually had to drive through Kirby Hill to do Langthorpe when I ended the run last time. Reason being is because I wanted to talk about something here where the river goes underneath the A1, and to do that I had to use the A168 here. And the easiest way to get to Langthorpe from there was to go there because that's a bridge just there. It's not a junction. Okay, so I know those two join together, and that's pretty much it. From there, we just get on the A1 and go home. So there we are. That's our 10. We've got 6 there, and we've got 4 there. All right, and then it's obviously on to the next one. When it's time to go to Harrogate again, we just basically plan the next ones down here, and that's how it happens. Now, sometimes I don't have as many as 10. Sometimes it's less. Sometimes it's more. It depends on how big they are. And of course, the thing that tells us how big they are and how difficult they're going to be is the colour system here. Because I know if I'm seeing a place that's green or is yellow or grey, it's going to be pretty quick. Okay, if I'm seeing somewhere that's a shade of red or a dark orange or possibly even purple, it's going to be a place that's going to take me a long time, because generally speaking, those are the more populated places. They've got more things to walk around and explore. They will take me longer. The chances are that when I actually do Ripon, because I will have to do it at some point, that will take me basically all day. It's a one parish job per day, right? If you know what I mean by that. But I can certainly do these, the likes of these, you know, 6 or 7, 8, 9 in one hit. And that's basically how I put runs together. And then, of course, from that point, it's a case of planning the routes, which you've already seen. And then it's a case of going off and filming them, I suppose. And that's it. That's how I put my runs together. So I hope that's made a bit of sense. And I'll show you another behind the scenes video with something else. Not quite sure yet what, but something next time. Thanks for watching, people. I'll see you later.